let me. So, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us to the attendees. It's good to see some of you come back again. My name is Michael, and I'm the workshop coordinator for the Reading Town Mill. Due to the pandemic, this year we are running these workshops as webinars instead of live in Thornbury Gardens, where Reading Town Mill is usually held. And judging by the weather, it's a good job there this afternoon. This is the fifth and last webinar which we are running this week. Please see the workshops page on the Reading Town Mill website for more information about the previous ones. We are recording this webinar, and it will be uploaded onto the Reading Town Mill YouTube channel. There will also be a video from the University of Reading about We Value Food. You should in the next day or so be sent an email with an email address. You can send any comments in about the webinar itself. There'll be the presentation, and then please use the chat function for any questions and answers, which will be picked up at the end. So I'd like to welcome Helen, Cindy and Elaine from Compassion in World Farming, and they will be talking about eating meat is less and better the way forward. So I'd like to hand over to Helen. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. We are from Compassion in World Farming, which is essentially a UK charity, although now does operate overseas as well. And the three of us belong to a branch of CIWF, which we call Compassion Berkshire. And you're very welcome to join us in Compassion Berkshire if you share our mission and want to help us. We do fundraising and awareness raising for the charity. And in a normal year, we would be having stalls at fetes and doing street collections and other activities. Obviously, it hasn't been a normal year. But I'm going to start with some PowerPoint. And as Michael said, if you have things you want to discuss, just put them in chat. We'll come back to it. There it is. Okay, so Compassion in World Farming and then the Berkshire Group. Sorry to start with an unpleasant picture. This is a broiler shed with chickens being raised for chicken meat.
Helen, there's nothing coming across. I've just got, you started screen sharing, but it's not come up. Apple's not come up.
Hasn't come up. Oh.
We don't want to share screen, do we?
Sharing is paused on mine.
Oh.
Why is that then? Resume share. Let's try it again. Does that come up now?
Oh no, it says recording on the top left-hand side, but it's not that, is it? It's not something to do with. It can't be something to do with share screen because we can see one another.
No, that's to do. No, share screen is about sharing a. Helen,
Right.
Sorry, everybody. Helen, you have clicked on the presentation, have you? Within share screen.
I can see it. Can you see it?
No.
No. Try slideshow.
Would you like me to try to bring it up?
Okay, I'll do stop share. And now you try and see if you can get it to come up.
Now well done.
Is that visible?
I can see it. Can you?
Yeah, I can see it.
Can you see it, Michael?
Yes, that's it. Good.
Lovely. So I think if you do.
Okay, Helen, I'll try and navigate through following your narrative. Would that be okay?
Okay, if you do the slideshow view from beginning. then we should get it full screen.
Hmm.
Doesn't matter otherwise.
Can anybody turn the volume up a little bit, or is it my laptop?
Well, I can't from this end anyway.
Okay.
Okay. So we want the next slide then, Elaine. Slide 2.
Can people see a lot of chickens?
Can you, does it come? Oh dear, we've got a technical hitch.
Sorry, everybody. Can people see a picture of a lot of chickens?
No.
Oh, I've got slide 1 with the sheep under the tree.
Yeah. And there's a row of pictures on the left. Do we just click on number 2?
I don't think.
Once more,
No.
everyone.
All right.
Just give me one moment. I'll just try to do it the old-fashioned way. Right. So if I just go to slide 2 now, can you see that?
I can.
Okay,
Yeah.
Helen, I'm not using slideshow, Helen. I'm just going to give you the basic pictures.
All right, fine.
All right,
Okay, cool. Right,
fire away.
Okay. Tens of billions of animals live a life of confinement. This is a broiler shed with chickens being raised for chicken meat. Just to clarify, in case anyone isn't familiar with the terms, this is an example of factory farming, which is otherwise called intensive farming. We campaign against this, and we campaign for free-range farming, the alternative, the traditional farming, where animals can carry out natural behaviours, such as to exercise, explore, forage for food, play, clean or groom themselves, and mother their young. We want to see all animals out of crates and cages and broiler sheds and back on the land. Next. This is our vision. I won't read it out. Next, these are our current campaigns. I won't go into detail because it's all on the website, and I suggest you go and have a look. But these are the things that we're working on at the moment. We work in all these ways. We have to, because otherwise nothing gets done. Okay, it's important for charities to keep going. This is a picture of Peter Roberts, who founded Compassion in World Farming in 1967. Peter was a farmer. He was a dairy farmer who also kept chickens, and it started because he was asked to put his hens into cages to increase productivity, and it set him thinking, and then he started the charity. Next, he's no longer alive. These are some quotes of Peter's. I will read them out. Factory farming systems deprive the sow of everything that makes life worth living. Next. And where the individuality of the animal ends, factory farming begins. We're going to just quickly run through some of the successes we've had since the time we've been going, since 1967. The first success was getting the veal crate banned in the UK in 1990. It was then banned in the EU in 2007. Veal is still produced in the UK and the EU, but the calves are no longer in individual crates. If you do eat veal, I suggest you go on the website. There's a paper on it, and the systems under veal can be raised, very many and complicated. So if you like to eat it, I suggest you go on there and find out what you're eating. Anyway, that was our first big success. Next one. Sows used to be put into cages, as we saw a few slides ago, some caged sows. They used to be put into cages for the entire duration of pregnancy in this country and in the EU, and this is still the case in many other parts of the world. Due to our campaigning, sow stalls are now illegal in the UK, and there is a partial ban on them in Europe. If you eat pig meat, and again, just to clarify, when I say pig meat, I mean pork, ham, pork sausages and bacon, it's worth remembering that if you buy British, cages of that sort will not have been used. Next one. We made progress with live exports. Due to our campaigning, live exports are no longer subsidised in the UK, and the numbers of animals being exported has greatly decreased. But live animals are still being sent on long journeys overseas for fattening and slaughter. Despite intense campaigning, the UK government has still not banned this trade. Many are slaughtered under conditions which would not be legal in this country. The other thing to say is that globally, the number of animals transported alive for fattening and slaughter has not fallen. Next one. So as I said before, chickens being raised for meat are called broilers, and chickens raised to lay eggs are called layers, and these are layers. Due to our campaigning, some major UK supermarkets have already gone cage-free for layers, and others have committed to being cage-free within 5 years. All UK supermarkets still sell factory farmed broilers, although some sell free-range broilers as well. Fast food outlets, ready meals, and nearly all restaurants use factory farmed broilers. It's complicated. The thing is, if you want to buy free range, look at the label. That's all I can say. This is an interesting one. Animals are recognised under EU law as sentient beings. In other words, they can suffer and feel pain. This recognition is due to CIWF campaigning. Before the law was changed, they were called agricultural products, just the same as apples or cabbages. Now, in 2017, the UK government committed to including animal sentience in UK law post-Brexit, but despite pressure, it has failed to deliver on this. So from the 1st of January 2021, EU law will continue to recognise animals as sentient beings, but under UK law, it will be legal for anyone to treat a farm animal as they would a cabbage. We're keeping up the pressure. Okay. We continue to campaign against caging rabbits. In the EU, more rabbits live in cages than any other species, even more than hares.
Yes, what?
Can I
Rabbit-
turn the sound up, or is it down?
Rabbit is not a popular meat.
Can I turn the sound up? Don't.
That caged rabbit farming doesn't happen here, but it does.
I don't want to spoil
Because many
anything. I
UK
can't
rabbits
see.
are caged for the pet food.
Ah, right.
Next one. Next, please. Thank you. So this shows a sow in a farrowing crate. This is the most common way of housing postnatal sows in Europe, including the UK, and in most of the world. The piglets have some access to the mother, but she's unable to stand up, turn around, exercise, or stretch. She can't mother her piglets, and neither can she get a break from them. After 6 weeks, they will be taken away, although they'll be too young to be weaned. Farmers say that this protects the piglets from the sow lying on them, but with good husbandry, piglet death rate is very similar in free-range systems. The slogan of one of our campaigns is End the Cage Age, and this includes crates. No animal should be crated or caged. The UK government has said recently they're looking into the legality of these farrowing crates. We shall see. Next one. This is a colony cage, which is a type of enriched cage. Enriched cages remained fully legal when the Barron battery cage was abolished in the UK and the EU in 2012. In the UK, about half of laying hens live like in these cages. They can't scratch, forage, dust bathe to clean themselves, sunbathe, exercise, roost, lay their eggs in private, or do anything except live a life of boredom and deprivation. Again, if you don't want to buy out of that system, look at the label. This is just a nice slide after the horrible ones. We think farm animals should live like this. And the next slide. Oh, we haven't got the animation because we're not in slideshow mode. But if we had, the cage in front of the chicken wobbles and then goes away. When we're asking you to help us end the cage age, because it is up to you, the consumer. And that's the end of that. Oh, right, okay, we're in the next one, well done. So we're now moving on away from charity and onto other information about farming generally. This slide shows the two sides of factory farming. The hens kept in an intensive system, and on the other side, soya being grown for them to eat. This is an intensive system, also mechanized and with high inputs of fertilizers, pesticides, and insecticides. Next one. This is some of the few remaining bison in the USA. They're now in a national park. It's an interesting point of history. Factory farming began in the USA, started with the bison. The native peoples coexisted with the bison, killing one from time to time, using every bit of it. The fertile plains supported over 1 million bison grazing steadily, and the system had been sustainable for many centuries. The Europeans overshot the bison, replaced them with cattle, overgrazed the cattle so that the land degraded, put the cattle into feedlots to finish, and grew grain on the land to feed the cattle in feedlots. A similar thing happened in Europe. Next one. So this is a feedlot in the USA with grain silos at the back for the feed. We also have feedlots now in the UK. In the UK, most beef cattle are fed on grass until the last 3 months of life, after which they're fed on grain to fatten them up, which is inefficient. Traditionally, cattle were not fed on grain. In the USA, animals are fed on grain for a higher proportion of their lives than they are here, typically 6 months grazing in a field, 6 months finishing on a feedlot, fed grain, and then slaughter. Next one. We're talking about here about the efficiency of food production. It's showing that we are wasting food by growing crops to feed to animals, which could graze on plants such as grass, which humans can't eat. Producing animal food of any kind always takes at least twice as much land to produce per kilo as vegetable or cereal food. In fact, if you compare beef with potatoes, the land use is 100 times as much. Next one. Farming for meat and dairy also uses many times as much water, which is becoming a scarce resource globally. This second illustration is showing the same thing really, but this time contrasting calories or kilojoules of energy rather than land use. But again, showing that feeding animals and then eating them is wasteful compared to eating plants. I was very puzzled about why there's a big milk bottle and then a tiny little cow, and it's obviously showing how many calories you get back from feeding 100 calories to the animal, 40 calories if you produce meat, but only 3 if you farm cattle for meat. Next one. The more meat, fish and dairy we eat, the more greenhouse gas emissions we are responsible for. The exact figures are highly debated and it depends what you count in and what you exclude. But anyway, the fact is it does produce more greenhouse gases than eating plants. Next one. This is a rainforest being destroyed to clear land for growing soybeans. More than 90% of soya protein grown is fed to livestock, and just 6% is used for human consumption. If you eat intensively reared chicken, eggs, pig meat, beef, or dairy, you will be consuming more soya than someone who eats sausages, soya milk, etc. And if you do live in the UK, Europe, or North America, and if you eat factory farmed meat or eggs or dairy, the animals will have been fed on soya grown on land created from rainforest destruction. Often these animals are also fed on palm oil products. Unfortunately, we live today in a world where this type of meat is not labelled intensively reared or factory farmed, and it's generally referred to as ordinary meat. Free-range animals graze and forage and can feed themselves to a large extent. They don't need much or any feed. Next one.
Okay, just bear with me a moment.
Okay.
Just a sec.
I'll just keep talking while you find the next slide. In order to grow grain or soya to feed animals kept intensively, rainforests may be cut down, or in some cases pasture land may be ploughed up. This causes carbon dioxide to be released, so carbon is lost from the soil. This carbon is not replaced because there's no leaf fall and no animal manure. So, in order to keep our soils fertile and to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, it may be better if we eat small amounts of meat and eggs from animals which have been grazed on pasture, instead of large amounts of meat and dairy from animals which have been kept indoors and fed on grain. Well done, got it. And the next one, please.
Is this what you're expecting?
Yes, yes it is. In traditional farming, animals' waste is called manure. Cow pat and urine are both fertilizers which are absorbed into the ground. The ammonia enters the soil where the nitrogen is released so that plants can turn it into protein. This is traditional farming. It's healthy and natural. In factory farming, the waste is called slurry. There's too much concentrated into one place, so most of it can't be used on the land, which is wasteful and can also be a hazard. Next one. This is a slurry lagoon produced by a large pig production unit. Ammonia from the slurry lagoon contaminates the air, and if there's a leak, the slurry contaminates water supply. This is an environmental incident which can easily happen and often does. It will be hushed up or passed off as a sewage leak. The River Wye, very popular with fishermen until recently, is now a dead river because it's so full of slurry from the enormous broiler chicken units nearby. Next. Nice slide. Traditional farming can enhance the landscape. Animals eat food which we can't eat, such as grass. Unfortunately, though, the UK now has over 700 mega farms. Nearly all of our meat and dairy comes from factory farmed animals. We've lost nearly all of this. There's going to be a run of quite quick ones, so I'll just stick my hand up next. Traditional farming can make for happy animals if husbandry is good. It's good for the creatures in the soil. It's good for flowers and for wildlife. Less insecticide used means more insects. More insects means more birds. Growing grass is good for the structure of the soil. Less fertilizer runoff is good for water life, including fish and including other water life. Less land used for farming means more trees. one's longer. So here are 4 reasons for eating less and better when it comes to meat and dairy. Eating a diet rich in meat and dairy is not sustainable. All over the world, the increase in factory farming is putting smaller farmers, subsistence farmers, off their land. Globally, most poor people have livestock. Factory farming undercuts the price of meat and eggs at market and so causes hardship, even starvation, for villagers and small farmers. Factory farming also increases the cost of grain, so people who want to buy it to eat it themselves can no longer afford it. Next. We're going to move on to healthy eating, which is a big subject, but I'll keep it brief. Hopefully you'll have some questions. I think you will. In a well-balanced diet, next one please. Oh no, that's not right. Is there something in between? No. Okay, that's interesting. We've lost some slides. So basically, the next slide should show us some food groups. High protein foods such as meat, eggs, dairy, soya, burgers and eggs and so on. Carbohydrate foods such as rice, potatoes, grains. Vegetable and fruit is category 3. 4 is rich and sweet foods like fats and oils, sugar and sweets. I can't remember, but you're supposed to guess which is the most important. And the answer is that we should be mainly eating cereal grains and carbohydrate foods, in other words, and fruit and veg in either order. And that animal foods and sweet stuff and oils should be things that we eat less of, but not be the basis of a diet. And I do want to say, although it's not about animal farming, but with the carbs, it is worth saying that there is evidence that people who eat just 1 serving a day of whole grains, such as porridge, brown rice or wholemeal bread, or brown pasta, live longer than people who don't. The white equivalents of those foods are not healthy, I'm afraid. Most primates eat a bit of meat, but mainly they eat plants. The healthiest human diets are plant-based. Many people are going vegan, which is a healthy way to eat, but it's not the only healthy way to eat. Now we can have the zoonotic diseases, which is the next one. There we are. Next one. Yeah, that's right. The origin of COVID-19. And the next one again. Crowded conditions. In the factory farm, where animals are crowded together indoors, diseases can spread like fire. Antibiotics are routinely used as a preventative or prophylactic measure. This drives antimicrobial resistance in animals, which can be transferred to people, reducing the effectiveness of these vital drugs as medicine. Next one. Oh, okay. This is a very complicated one about, I think it's a bit much. I'd have to leave it on a long time for you to study it. But what I suggest is, if you're interested, that you find it on the CIWF website, which is just ciwf.org. And in fact, it shows you that there's a short video called Chain of Risk, which is something you can go to if you're interested. Next one then. Past pandemics. So there is a school of thought that if we keep eating and farming and slashing rainforests as we are, we're just going to see pandemic after pandemic. We need to move on. Next one. Jane Goodall. If you don't know who Jane Goodall is, research her. She's very interesting and a fantastic person. next one, I don't know about clicking on links and PowerPoint slides. I don't know whose idea that was. Obviously you can't, but if you want to, the website, there are petitions, not just that one, but there's several petitions, and it's a good way that you can exercise your power as a consumer. It's changing your behaviour, but also signing petitions and writing to your MP if you feel strongly that things are not as they should be. And last but not least, again, if we had this on slideshow view, which I wish we could have done, the three all move together, and we see that they're all linked and can't be treated as separate. Okay, thank you. I think we could stop screen sharing now, if you like, Jane.
Would you like me to show a short video?
Yes, I think so. Yes, it's just there is a 20-minute video on YouTube called Farm Animals and Us Too. I can put that in chat. And it's well worth watching the 20 minutes through, but we're just going to share the last 3 minutes for you.
But this could be a mistake, as meat production is inherently inefficient. For example, when a pig is fed grain, only about a third of the energy he consumes is turned into pork or bacon, and half of that energy is in the fat, which is often discarded. The rest is either used in respiration to generate energy for exercise and for keeping warm, or it is wasted, ending up in the pig's feces. This inefficiency means that it takes more than 3 kilograms of grain to produce 1 kilogram of pig meat. In a world where 1 billion people go to bed hungry, does it make sense to feed farm animals with grains and other crops that could be eaten directly by people? An alternative way to produce meat and dairy products might be to keep cattle and sheep free range on pasture, since these animals can eat grass, which people cannot eat. Everyone can make a difference to the lives of farm animals, and it comes down to personal values. You choose what you eat. If you eat meat, milk, and eggs, like most British people, then on average in your lifetime you may consume more than 1,000 chickens, 25 turkeys, 20 sheep, 25 pigs, 4 beef cattle, the life's work of 50 laying hens, and half the produce of a dairy cow. To that you can add thousands of fish. The lives of these creatures will depend on the choices you make. As a consumer, you can buy the cheapest meat and eggs. You could choose to reduce the amount of meat you eat, or to go vegetarian or vegan. You could also choose to buy higher welfare products, including organic and free range. Look out for labels such as RSPCA's Freedom Food Scheme or Soil Association Organic. For an extra few pence per day, you could buy free range or organic eggs where the chickens get to range outside during the day. For an extra £2 or so, this chick could enjoy a longer life with better health and the chance to roam freely. You can also help pigs if you look out for freedom food, free range or organic. The mother can live free of cages, and the piglets grow up in a rich environment with straw or soil to investigate. If you look out for pasture-based dairy products, such as organic, the cows will be allowed outside in spring. As a citizen, you may also decide to get involved in campaigns about the future of farming. It is entirely your choice. Whatever you choose is likely to make more difference to animal happiness or animal suffering in the world than any other choice you ever make.
Good. Well done.
Good. Let's see what's in chat. Well, we haven't, as far as I can see, got any questions as such in chat.
All
Just
right.
2 comments. So has anybody got anything they'd like to discuss or comments they'd like to make? In the meanwhile, I can show you CIWF do some very nice. Oh,
We have something come up called, there was a name on it that popped up, but it's gone again. I don't know if that was somebody. And there's,
Helen, we have a question. What's our view on GM foods?
do you know, has anyone got an answer to that, or shall I waffle? I actually haven't, I don't know the view.
I mean,
No.
it's something which has gone quite quiet.
Yeah.
A few years ago, there was a lot of controversy over bringing certain GM foods here and growing GM foods as crops. And I have to say, I was thinking just the other day how quiet it all seems to have gone. I don't know the answer to this.
No, I mean, as an organisation, I'm not sure CIWF has a view, because it's not really about what we campaign about. And I guess, I mean, if you're asking our personal views, that's a different thing. I don't want it, but that's just my view. It's not CIWF's view.
Elaine's microphone has failed, according to this.
We're not having much luck, technically, are we?
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
Amrita Reddy is saying organic food production can be contaminated by chemicals used on neighbouring farms. And my understanding that we've very recently had a new piece of legislation go through, which people have been campaigning for decades, to do with spraying near, now whether it applies to other people's farms, but certainly it's now going to be illegal to spray chemicals near human habitation or places where children are cared for, and you know, schools obviously. So that's great progress on that. But as I say, whether farms can still spray other people's farms may not be covered by that.
Somebody's written up. Oh, it's gone again. As soon as I start saying somebody's written up, it's gone, sadly.
Oh, I can see it. It's from Mike Buckland. I believe the main problem with GM crops, common in the USA, is that the wind blows where it will. So organic crops become contaminated. And not just organic, any non-GM crops can become. And that's one of the reasons why people have been campaigning against it for so long. Amrita, I agree with you. How can we be sure of organic? But I think we have to trust that it's as near as it can be. Certainly a lot closer than if the pesticide and everything else has been sprayed directly onto the plant. I think that drift will always be less than direct spraying. And otherwise, I think you just either have to grow it yourself or go to the farm and see what's happening, what's going on. And I think the same applies to animal welfare with meat. If you're not sure what the label means and you're not sure if you trust it, go there, go to the farm, see what they're doing and see whether you're happy with what you're doing or not.
Do they not have to get something to support that from some of the organisations, you know, saying that this, you know, with the organic symbol or something?
Oh yes, they do, but
it might not be true, but it should be, shouldn't it? Because they should keep an eye on these things.
I think all they can say is, to the best of their knowledge and belief, they have grown it organically. But if there's a high wind and something's drifting from somebody else, that's not within their control, is it?
No, that's right.
I would add about finding out about the food is like buying from the farmers markets that we have here in Reading, first and third Saturdays of each month. So this second one this month was this morning. So you can actually talk to the farmers themselves there and ask them questions. And there's both vegetables, fruits, and meat products there. And buying locally, you've also I understand Risk World Shop is now selling some food. I'm not sure exactly what. Plus, over in Emma Green, we've got the True Food Co-op shop, which sells organic food as much as possible is local, depending on it being in season.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because the more local something is, the less fossil fuels being used transporting it all over the place. And again, this is another reason why bringing grain and soya from South America to feed animals here is an absolute nonsense.
It is. It's absolutely ridiculous, isn't it?
2 miles.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that leads on to some of the animals that are transported very long distances across the world. You know, coming from New Zealand with the live animals, not necessarily to the UK. I suspect what we get has been frozen, but you know, taking them to some of the Middle East countries for a start is appalling. And you probably read something about the ships that have gone down. That's, you know, included as well. And you thought the problem is that people in certain religious groups won't allow animals to be they're not allowed to be stunned, and they want fresh food, so they're transporting all these animals, which must cost a fortune and do a heck of a lot of bother to the environment, apart from the animals that suffer dreadfully, because this is what they're saying, you know, we've got to have it fresh so we can slaughter it. And it's the same with the stuff they want, well, not so much with coming over from America. That's a slightly different matter, but it's all involved, isn't it? Oh, she's gone again. Whoops.
Yeah, I'm talking about the trade deal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of petitions going around against this trade deal between the UK and the US, which the government are trying very hard to get put in place. The NFU petition alone has had over 1 million signatures, and I know at least 4 other organisations who've also got quite large petitions on the same subject, because it's not just chlorine washed chicken, it's food of quality, poor hygiene standards, and atrocious, in some cases, animal welfare that would no way be allowed here. And the food, a lot of major supermarkets have said if this food arrives here, they won't stock it. And some restaurants and fast food outlets have said the same. Others are not prepared to commit themselves. But the thing is, they want to try and get it into food which isn't labelled. So things like canteen food, school dinners, prison food, factory canteens, ready meals, pub food. It'll all be in there, and we won't know.
We won't know. No. Somebody has just put a message up as well, by the way. A question, I think, is it a lady?
Will food standards be maintained after we leave the EU? We should find out, shouldn't we?
We should do, yes.
If we come out with no deal, then no, they won't. But we can, yes. The EU, I think actually this is one of the sticking points with the deal, is that our government don't want to be committed to keeping up environmental and farm animal welfare standards.
Yes, and there's talk about sentient beings. I think we've spoken about it between us, haven't we? That was set up, well, very long time ago in Amsterdam, and but leaving them, they're not. We've tried very hard to get them to make sure that still is in going to be there, but the government doesn't want that. You know, they're trying their hardest to avoid us insisting on sentient beings being. Sounds a little thing, but I think it's very important.
It's a big. I think you were there, Cindy, weren't you, when the legislation?
I was, yeah,
Delegation of British
20
people went over.
years ago.
1997, I think. And Joanna Lumley, because we both heard Joanna speak, and it was a hard-won victory.
Yeah.
And I remember her saying, "I stepped out of a taxi with a piglet in my arms, and I looked Tony Blair in the eye, and I said, 'Sentient beings, you can do it!' And he did do it."
She did do it, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yes, it was tremendous actually there. Because I remember the police being in front of us where the cordon was, and a police officer saying, "If I wasn't a policewoman, I'd be there demonstrating with you." I can still remember that. A lot of things I can't remember, but anyway, yes, things like that are very important, aren't they?
And it's such a shame that we campaigned along with other countries to get them into law, and now we don't want to keep them in our own law. Well, we do, but the government doesn't.
Exactly.
I'd just like to add a couple of points about the EU. Sorry, I've been away for a bit.
People are disappearing.
I'm
Yeah,
back.
people are disappearing actually. Yeah.
Okay, just one thing about the EU, that some of our standards in the UK at the moment are above the standards of the EU. And I think we have a choice on Brexit. We can go in two directions. We can continue to improve our standards independent of the EU and other countries with whom we might enter into trade deals, or we could comply with what other countries are asking us to do and reduce our standards in order to enter into trade deals. And I think we're at a huge crossroads, and we could go one or the other way. And it very much depends that the electorate keeps their eye on the ball here, and holds their MP government to account.
Yeah. That's actually where petitions come in, I think.
Yeah.
If that's why I'm constantly sending them out to people. You know, all my dear friends aren't friends anymore.
I think voting to MPs is powerful as well, because they will be voting on all this within the next week or two, and if they're flooded.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, it's difficult to change them sometimes. The Bracknell one, he says all the right things, but at the end of the day, he's not changing anything. So, right, we have a meter ready. Are you petitioning about trade deals, lady? As just put up here. So, do you want to?
Anita, I would just say that the group here, within the Berkshire group, we have been liaising within each other to encourage each member to write to our MPs, because there are a number of MPs across Berkshire, of course, it's not just one, and many of us have done that so far. Now, I don't know whether Compassion in World Farming as a charity has gone to a national campaign regarding trade deals. I'm not sure. Helen or Cindy, are you aware of that?
No, I've signed the NFU one, and the Greenpeace one, the Friends of the Earth one, the Global Justice Now one, and the Which one. They've all got petitions about trade deals. So, you know, I have to sign some petitions. I don't know about CIW.
No, I can't remember them all. I know I've looked them up, but I can't remember what they are at the moment. The best thing is to go into, here we are. Can you list them on chat? Ladies written, Amrita on chat. So what will that be?
Chat, I can do that. Hang on.
Can you? Okay. Yeah, lady seems interested. Yes, I'm trying to remember.
While Helen's doing that, I'm going to bring this to end because the attendees are dropping off very quickly. So I'd like to say
are rather, aren't they?
Thank you to Helen, Cindy and Elaine for their interesting and informative presentation. Thank you very much.
Please thank